The Pledge of Allegiance. David?
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saluting the flag of our nation. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll let you two fight that out. There you go. Put your glasses on. You can see in the back.
Okay, Lauren. Roll call.
President Cordell.
Here.
Director Cordichado.
Here.
Director Kaczynski.
Here.
Director Rutora.
Here.
Vice President St. Amant.
Here.
Posting of this agenda.
The agenda for today's special board meeting was posted on Wednesday, August 12th, 2020.
Any conflicts of interest up here at all?
None. No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to public questions and comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on the agenda or over which the board has jurisdiction. However, no action may be taken by the board of directors on any item not appearing on the agenda. Non-agenda speakers are asked to limit their presentation to 5 minutes. Public questions and comments on the items listed on the agenda will be accepted at any time the item is brought forth for consideration by the board. When you are recognized by the chairperson, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the current business. Oh, we got one already. Okay. Bring her on. Okay. Hello, can I get your name and address?
Yes, my name is Mike Neal. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Okay, very good. Okay, I believe I'd asked previously for this to be requested to be put on an agenda at some point, but I haven't seen that happen. And this is regards to the billing of the AMI system and those who have opted out of that system. I believe there are at least a couple of us at this point. Now, early on when this was brought up, and I had to actually press pretty hard to even get an opt-out option. We had discussion with the former finance director, and it was claimed that it cost the water district $25 per meter to go out and do a meter read, and so they adopted a $25 a month fee to manually read our meters and get us billed. Now, I argue that was excessive at that time, and I still do think it's excessive. And I realize if you had to go to the far reaches of your district separately, back and forth, it might take a little time to do that, but we all know, the water district boundaries in Ridgecrest is not that big, and the water district sits right in the middle of it. I have mapped on Google Maps and also from many trips to the water district know that it takes a maximum of about 8 minutes to go from my house to the water district headquarters and back. So it's hard to see how 15 minutes of a worker's time is worth $25 to do a meter read. So I'm requesting that the board put an agenda item on to bring this item back up for rediscussion at some point. And, then we can go back over that. My feeling is it more like, the SCE and PGE charges you $10 a month, and after 3 years, they quit charging you altogether. And, of course, I know you guys are under the PUC, but there must be reason for that, and they're doing millions of users. So I think more like $15 is more reasonable fee for this. So I'd just like to have this reconsidered. I'm requesting that be done at some point in the near future. Okay? And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We can bring that up at our next meeting and talk about it. I guess, would you do that in committee meetings?
I could come to a committee meeting if they want to put that in a committee meeting agenda, discuss it there.
If you'd like, if you'd like to. We have the justification for it. Basically, this was back when the AMI system pilot system was first being put out there. We actually did a survey going close to the district into the far reaches, ended up taking the average. We added in administrative costs. I've got the breakdown for how that fee was determined, but we can't charge. I understand if somebody lives close by, they may think that that's unfair, but we can't be charging individual fees for individual customers because of their location within the district. That's an average response time to go read the meter, come back, and for customer service and the processing of the reading. So we have a breakdown. I can provide that at the next committee meeting if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I think we want to go ahead and do that and get a copy of it.
I have a quick
too.
question.
And actually,
Mr.
the costs are
President.
probably higher because that was done back, I think, in 2014 or 15. So
Around in that area.
Don, how many opt-outs are there for the AMT automatic reading? Roughly. 3. Out of how many customers?
11,500 residential. And
Okay.
maybe another 1,000 commercial.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have another phone call? Okay, back on red again. Any other comments by the board on this? Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed on.
Keep in mind, we have a delay, so you might want to wait about 20 seconds or so in between, because there's a delay from people hearing us.
I'm already delayed.
Yeah,
man.
until, unless Gary gives us the sign that we're done with the calls. Okay.
So should we go on to item B? General manager and staff update. The board will consider and may take action on the following items. Don, is that you?
What about A, the Groundwater Authority?
What's that?
What about item A, Groundwater Authority?
Did I miss something?
Under current business,
The very bottom of the page.
To the last 2 lines.
7A. You skipped
Okay.
A.
7A. Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority description, report, and discussion regarding the July 16th, 2020 board meeting.
As I said last time, and of course the public hadn't heard this, that the main thing at that meeting that is the topic of discussion in this community is the replenishment fee. So that's going to be coming up for its second reading. I assume it's second reading and a vote on a week from tomorrow, which is the 21st. And obviously that fee is causing a lot of response in the community. And I mean, I don't want to say a lot about that. I mean, I'm looking at it, I'm listening to everything everyone has to say and what this board has to say. And I know this board agreed to draft a letter to the GA, and I believe that is coming very soon, probably the next day or so it'll go out to the GA. So we have accomplished that. And the basis of that letter is, as I understand it, is that we're looking for, it sort of follows along the guidelines of the EDC letter, that we need some time to look at this so we can paint an entire picture, blueprint, if you may call it that, of what the entire project would look like, or projects, and so the public would understand fully what the fee would, how the fee would affect them on their bottom line, in their pocketbook, and on their water district bill. So what we're looking for is some time to analyze the potential projects, as well as the amount of water being purchased, because we do understand, I think the board agrees, we're going to have some kind of water come into this valley, but we want to take some time, put the brakes on more or less, just for a while, so we can put together some more facts, so the public can understand what does that mean to them in their pocketbooks. Because there's all kinds of numbers out there, from $2,000 a year to $300 a year, which could possibly be, but some of these higher numbers, and people don't know who's paying it and how it's being paid. A lot of things need to be laid out. So that's essentially what our letter is probably going to convey, along with some other things.
I agree that is the important fee that's coming up, important topic, but there were also a couple reports that were going to be discussed at the Groundwater Authority, one of those being the fallowing fee, which could turn out to be really expensive. And do we know, is that coming back up? And also, I guess I was concerned about the fact that it looks like they're trying to commingle
fallowing funds between the replenishment fund and the fallowing report, and I haven't talked to anybody that really understands what's going on.
I'll take a stab at that. I may be wrong, and Jim can correct me. As I've explained, it's been explained to me, is because in a fallowing program, you're essentially fallowing a piece of property that would be pumping from the transition. I'm sorry, I got it. Basically, the fallowing program would be allowing the purchase, more or less, of water that may or may not be pumped from the transition pool. So the argument is that, well, this is a replenishment fee to get water for us, and this is essentially getting water for the benefit of our basin. To me, that's how it's explained. And plus, even if that's true, that even if there is the transient pool pumping from one particular farming operation, that would be not a longevity. It wouldn't be over 5. You might only get a certain amount of water, and then you're done. So the argument is that the replenishment fee is paying to purchase that water. That's how I understand it. And Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That's why it was put in there.
I think that's right. That the transient pool, there's a block of water that's being allowed to be pumped by those in the transient pool, and they will have the opportunity to offer it to the Groundwater Authority, a negotiated price to purchase it. As I understand it, if there's money that goes into that fee from the district that we're paying for the replenishment fee, and we're paying to bring water in, then if they purchase water, then that should go to the benefit of the district for us bringing that water in, and would, as I understand it, would argue that water that's purchased through funds that were collected from the district, it needs to benefit the district, not the basin. So we would be buying, needed sustainable yield water.
And it shows, Stan, there's all kinds of questions about it. Whether it's going to be on the agenda, I don't know.
I actually don't believe that argument at all.
Yeah.
Basically, the replenishment fee is supposed to be buying a permanent lifetime entitlement, which is not water. It's an entitlement to buy water. The other is a one-time purchase of water. So they are separate and distinct. And not only that, but if we use all the money for fallowing, then quite frankly, there won't be any money to buy an entitlement.
I agree.
And we need to be very, very careful how we spend that money. And as a matter of fact, the fallowing program, which is called out in the replenishment fee, hasn't been defined. I mean, it was loosely defined in the GSP. However, it's not been, that report was pushed out a month, at least a month, and I guess I don't know when it is going to actually be discussed. Well, I would like to know that, but nonetheless, since fallowing's not been defined, what the replenishment fee is signing up to, the way it is something that's totally undefined, and it wasn't addressed at all in the engineer's report.
Except in a footnote.
It just kind of came out.
Except in a footnote.
Jim, go ahead. Do you have a comment?
I was just going to tell Stan that it's my understanding, I believe the fallowing program will be on the agenda for the Groundwater Authority next week.
Yeah, I was going to ask that same question. If it is, then these discussions will come forward. But I have to agree with you, Stan, that what I always hate to see happen in any organization is where you have you're identifying amount of money that you're collecting, and all of a sudden, well, we can borrow it for this, or we can do this, or we can do that. It always just scares the heck out of me, because when that begins to happen, you're getting in a rabbit hole you're not going to get out of. So I agree with you. It needs to be looked at and talked about a lot more.
I'm kind of surprised we don't have any callers coming in. But
Jim, is there anything else on the agenda besides the fallowing fee?
No, there's a general the GA agenda is not yet final, Stan.
Okay, actually, I was referring to the various reports that the PAC and the TAC were supposed to be reviewing, and two things got postponed.
I was going to continue, Stan. I think it's other than reports from the water resource manager, consent agenda items. I believe the two main issues the two big issues that will be on the agenda would be the replenishment fee as well as the fallowing program. I think that's a reasonable assumption.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, it looks like we have a caller. Go ahead and state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Mike Neal. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, I've been listening to the discussion, and first, like I say, I appreciate the Water District holding a special meeting due to the sound problems in the last one and making this available to the public for comment and input. Now, regarding to Mr. Kaczynski's comments, I agree with most of that, except for the fact that there are other reasons to delay implementing this fee outside of just making potential costs of this fee and the associated projects clear to the public. One of the main ones that needs to have serious discussion is the inequity in the allocation table, and the fact that I can say plainly, truthfully, that one of the prominent TAG board members that told me he didn't know where this allocation chart came from. Other people have said they don't know where it came from. There's total confusion as to its origin, but here we look at it, and all the de minimis users are getting off with 800 acre-feet of use a year, not having to pay anything. There's about 6 or 8 entities using water that basically just arbitrarily decided that they don't have to pay anything for the water they use, and yet Water District, Searles Valley is getting tagged to put in all the supplemental water. At the same time, they're jumping the gun on this so quickly and getting totally ahead of the fact that we've got recycled water from the city wastewater plant, which you guys are trying to get your hands involved in, and that's over 2,000 acre-feet, and that's being totally neglected in this allocation chart. Could anybody imagine them starting this fee and then backing up later on when the wastewater treatment plant starts pumping 2,000 acre-feet back into the usable supply and say, oh, well, we don't need that. No, sorry, that never happens. I've never seen this happen in 15 years around here. When a fee's there, it never goes away. And it always goes up, basically, and it never goes away at all or even decreases. There are lots of other reasons. The main reason not to do it right now is there's really just simply not a hurry. There's really only one serious problem that people have with water in this valley, and there are those, a very few number, I believe, but there are some who have wells that are having problems. Now, that's part of the project list of the GA is a shallow well mitigation project, and I'm still confused whether that's part of this replenishment fee or not. I don't believe that it is, and yet that's the only one that really needs to be being addressed. And I don't think people in this valley would have a problem paying a little water fee to help their neighbors out who are in a bad way, so that they can get supplemental funds given to them so that they can drill deeper wells and have some water. But that's a very small number, and given the fact that they're trying to ignore the fact that prior studies have said we got literally millions of acre-feet in this basin. Even saying, well, we're going to claim every well and the valley's going down a foot per year. Well, even the way it is, that's not going to be a problem, any time in the next 15 to 20 years. So that's a long time to make up your mind. And the fact that the GA doesn't have an approved plan. It's really basically ridiculous for them to be jumping into feeding us to death when they don't even know if the state's going to approve what they want to do or not. But yet they're turning around in public saying, oh, if we don't approve the fee, the state's got to just approve the plan, somehow trying to join at the hip the fee and the plan, which are separate happenings. So, yeah, this thing needs to go away. It needs to go away for quite a long time until we get these inequities and these inaccuracies and things worked out and bugged out of this thing. So appreciate you guys, what you're doing to speak out about this, and other persons in the valley who are speaking out loudly telling people to protest against this, and it really seriously needs to not be happening for quite some time. So anyway, appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
I think we are addressing most of his concerns in our letter.
Yes.
Am I correct? Those
Yes.
still in there, most of them?
Yeah, and,
Okay,
and
great.
but that augmentation table, I suspect it's a good possibility it can change one way or another, either what happens with Cerros Valley Minerals and their claim to certain water. So that, in my opinion, that chart is up for discussion and change.
Right, so it's, as a side note, even were this to pass in the end of August, it can be revisited. And the allocation table can be revisited at that time, and should be. Is that another call?
No. Nobody home?
And Director Cordell, this is Jim Worth.
Yes, Jim.
I would also just note that I agree with, I believe it was Stan that said that first of all, the district letter, I believe it will go out today, and then also I believe that it touches upon virtually everything that Mr. Neal brought up. So I just wanted to point that out, and from the timing standpoint as well. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we all feel the same way. That letter addresses about everything. So let's go on to the next one. If there's any callers, doesn't look like it.
I got it. I've got a text, but the answers to this are mostly for discussion at the GA. It talks about transferable water in a transient pool if someone was to buy a farmer out, and they want to know questions on how it's being done, and with the comment saying that it's very confusing, and yes, it is. And I don't think any of that has been sorted out yet, but it's for discussion, and it's very good points brought up, and I will make notes of it, and those are things we'll talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. We have another caller. Yes, please state your name and address.
Yes, this is Mike Neal. Again, if you'll hear me for just a minute or two. One other thing I want to let you guys know about is you're aware they're having a discussion on this replenishment fee with Mr. Gleason at this time as you meet. I was able to listen to the first, portion of that before your meeting started. You guys are really going to want to listen to what Mr. Gleason has to say. He is throwing out some serious scare tactic statements prior to where this meeting began. I heard him basically saying if the fee doesn't pass, that the county is going to get spooked about litigation and they're going to pull out. He thinks the city is going to pull out, and then he thinks co-jointly then the water district is going to pull out, and I think the whole thing is going to fall apart. And then the state, which they've used as a big scare from day one, the state's going to come in and take it over. It's pretty interesting what he has to say about this, and I'm attempting to make a recording of this so other people can listen to it. I'll make it available. If it comes out, very, very easy to understand. I'm not sure about the recording levels, how they work, and I had to play with the computer a little bit. It's pretty interesting content. It's having to do with this particular subject in a lot more detail and things that I have never, ever heard being brought up before. So just want to let you know that.
I appreciate that, Mike. I'd be interested in listening to it myself.
Okay.
And I know there's all kinds of stuff on, anyway, some other sides that I don't agree with, but we're going to come to that agreement on the 21st.
All right. Thank you.
April is recording the webinar, and she said she's going to post it to the GA website, so it will be available.
Okay, we're having it recorded also, Mike, so the district will have a recording of it too.
I'm getting some updates on it too, but one that came up that I think I'd like to touch base for just a moment is one thing we haven't talked about is an administration fee to operate the GA. It seems like that's getting pushed aside, and I know there's arguments in saying, well, when you institute the replenishment fee, that we could use that for administration for replenishing, but how about the other things? People seem to forget what it takes to operate the organization. So I think that needs to resurrect again. Don did a lot of work on it, along with Ty. and came up with some estimates for administration costs, and for some reason that's fallen by the wayside, and that needs to come forward again.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that, and there were 9 total, I think there were 9 projects in addition to the administration stuff, and now that 9 is turned into 10 because the water importation has been cut in 2 phases. So now we got a phase 1 and a phase 2, so there are 10 projects, and we need to know and understand the cost of all of those projects.
I agree. Thank you, Stan. Ron? That is another, just with the 2 discussions going on right now between the Water District and then the GA, it's another reason why I want to get our people back into our office and working for us. Because at times we don't agree with other people, and you guys are working with the other people. I don't want to disagree with people that we have on our staff, and I want to get that changed ASAP as fast as we can. They knew that there was going to be some administrative fees when they started the whole project. We have hit the administrative fees. We have done the attorney's work, our CPAs, secretaries. Everybody involved actually is working for them that work for us. So I'd like to get that changed as soon as we can. Anyhow, anyone else? Okay, I think we can go ahead and go to the general manager now.
Okay, we'll start with our safety record, which as of yesterday, we've had 59 days without a recordable injury. In terms of production, metered production at the wells for the month of July was 258,402,800 gallons, 793 acre feet. The number the State Water Resources Control Board uses as a comparison is the metered water through the system as well as the non-revenue water. And that could result from flushing activities, blow-offs, and leaks, et cetera. That number is 216,284,000, and that's 663.8 acre feet. We did report the results to the Water Board on August 5th. Consumption was down 30.6%. That's the 4th consecutive month of at least 30% reduction, which I think is pretty extraordinary, especially considering during the summer months. The 20% conservation target rate that the board voluntarily adopted that took effect in June of 2016, we're now at 23.1%. So we have a pretty good cushion on that 20% right now. The residential gallons per capita per day, which is another statistic we report to the state, it was 177.2. The 5 previous years, 2019 seems to be an anomalous year because the last 4 months have always been lower than current year. But prior to that, 2018 was about 5% higher, 2017 22% higher, 2016 18.5% higher, and 2015 13.7% higher. So we are seeing some good conservation results on the part of our customers. Again, 4 months of 30% plus is pretty. I don't think we've seen that since we adopted the target. We had a high number of new connections during the month, 14. And this is being the first month of the new fiscal year, so we have 14 connections this fiscal year. That brought in $70,952 in capital facility fees. Moving on to public outreach, due to the coronavirus pandemic and the requirement for social distancing at public meetings, the community collaborative meeting that the mayor hosts the last 3 months has been a WebEx meeting or a web meeting. Unfortunately, with everything going on, each of those meetings, I've had something else that conflicted with it, so I haven't been able to participate. Hopefully, next month I'll be able to join in. I do miss being able to participate in those and hear what's going on, but again, there's been so much going on that I've had a conflict every time the meeting's been scheduled. Items on the special board workshop for the July 23rd board workshop. as we go through those. The first one, take a closer look at the IWVGA fees and provide a breakdown. Supervisor Gleason has also made that request to the GA staff and wants us to identify the anticipated fees, the estimated amount of those fees, and when they are anticipated to be implemented. I had a conference call with Steve Johnson and Alan Christensen on August 4th to discuss the approach to this. Steve Johnson provided some initial thoughts, and we're working on that currently. It's going to be a little bit difficult because at some point in time, some pumpers may not be able to pay the fee, so to try and project who's going to be paying the fee and what the fee will be is going to be a little bit challenging, but we are working on it. The next item, holding future water district board meetings in council chambers. I did reach out to the city with that request. At this time, as I already informed the board through email, there's not staffing available to accommodate the water district board meetings. The IT staff is stretched thin with all the virtual meetings or committee meetings they're having for the city, the school board, and all the other requests. They did indicate when they receive the new software upgrades to the chamber booth that they'd be willing to revisit this and perhaps train a member of our staff. And Jason's indicated he's interested. I also have a couple of other people that I think we would train as well. On a parallel path, we are looking at a system, an AV system for our boardroom, I think, going forward. I know we talked about this over a year ago. The board at the time didn't, they weren't in favor of putting AV equipment in the boardroom, but we weren't going through a pandemic. I think circumstances have changed, and there's no telling when we're going to get back to being able to have full public meetings. So I think the prudent thing to do is to go forward with looking into putting equipment into our boardroom so we can be independent, not relying on the city's schedule. But we do appreciate, of course, the city making accommodations to have this meeting this morning and as well as a special board meeting. Next one, focus on groundwater replenishment from the city's new recycled water treatment facility. Chuck Krieger, Dave Scriven, and I had a follow-up call after the board workshop. They are currently working on refining the project costs. And in fact, after meeting with Ron Strand this morning, I sent an email to Chuck, Dave, Tim Parker, and Jim Worth. I had suggested prior that Krieger and Stewart work with Tim Parker. Previous studies that Krieger and Stewart did involving injection were based on hydrological data that is now outdated, if you will, based on the SkyTem data. Tim Parker's been working obviously with Stanford on the gap. I think he may be able to provide some insights into where we could best locate a project to replenish the aquifer. So we've actually got a call being set up. I don't have a time. It'll be sometime tomorrow at 10 o'clock or later to touch bases. When I talked to Ron Strand this morning, he indicated that the city's going to be looking in the within 30 days, by at least 30 days from now, into identifying a potential partner for the water from treatment plant. So having a project defined and bringing it to the table is going to, I think, work in our advantage. So that's going to be our goal, is to firm up the project and have it ready within the next 30 days, scope out the costs and details of the project. So that's where that's at. As I said, we'll have a call tomorrow to work on that. Re-engage with LADWP. Chuck Krieger's secretary did reach out to LADWP, and not surprisingly, they're not hosting live meetings. They did offer an option for a web meeting. We have a meeting scheduled on the 19th next week with David Pennajohn and another gentleman, I may be mispronouncing this, Delon Kwan. He's Assistant Director of Water Resources. So that's set up, and we'll have that conversation next week. Next item, Mr. Worth to research legal options regarding will serve letters and implementation fees. And I'm going to defer to him to report on that.
Yeah, As I indicated, I think the last time, I haven't really had a lot of time to devote to this project recently in light of what's been going on with the GA. I anticipate that I should be able to have something something more substantive for the board at the September board meeting as soon as we make it through these next GA board meetings. I've just been focusing on a number of limited tasks with the time that I have available. So I apologize but that's my report on that.
Okay, next item, draft letter regarding the IWVGA replenishment fee on behalf of the board. Well, our board president signed that letter this morning, so
Yes,
that will
sir.
be going out to the GA board and staff. And the last one, legal issues regarding the de minimis users. Again, that was an issue for Jim Worth to report on. So I'll defer to him.
I think I have. The question was, and Stan raised this a while ago, and I've addressed it with Stan and Ron, and it's also included in the letter, and that is that in de minimis pumpers they're exempt from reporting and metering requirements, but I do not believe that they're exempt from fees. In fact, you're allowed to charge them the groundwater extraction fee under 10730. That's right in the code. So I think that's all part of the GA, the GA issues, and that along with I think you jumped over the revising the allocation table. All of these issues are addressed in the letter.
Okay. Does the board have any questions on any of those items?
I have a couple comments.
Ron?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for the work that you've done because, as I see it, the recycle project, as well in re-engaging LADWP, is so important to this district, because if that replenishment fee passes, then it's going to behoove us to work really hard on eliminating the amount of allocated water that we need, taking control of it ourselves, coming in so we're not paying that fee, that huge fee on the allocated water requirements. So I really appreciate what you've done. You've accomplished a lot more than I expected in terms of setting up meetings with LADWP, getting almost a project that is well defined to present to the city, and I think that's good work, and keep it up. And we need to keep moving in that direction. The last one, the legal issues regarding the de minimis users. I think I've asked this before, whether it be, I know Tim Parker has a lot of connections with other areas that have GAs, and Jim probably knows of some as well. I'd certainly like to see some examples that are presently being done with de minimis users in some other areas. Because it's easy to say, yes, we can charge them an extraction fee, but do we have any idea how much they pump? If we can't meter them, what do we know? I do know one thing for sure. If the state was to come in here and you look at their website, basically what they will be charging all pumpers is somewhere around $300 to $400 per year to register their well as a pumping fee of $40 per acre foot pumped. So just keep that in mind, that these fees, even though we're looking at avoiding it now for de minimis users, if something was to happen and the state walked in, that's going to end. So all I'm asking on that particular one is between Tim Parker and Jim, if they can see some examples of what's happening in other GAs for de minimis users charges as well.
And Ron, this is Jim. We'll go ahead and try to locate some examples for you. I would just also opine that if the state were ever to come in here, they may in fact go ahead and impose the fees that Ron's indicated. But the reality is, if the state came in, I don't think anybody knows exactly what they would do. In addition to those fees, they might take additional actions. And so I believe there is uncertainty that there is uncertainty if the state does come in here.
And I think I'd be true in saying we can expect the worst based on what we see happening a lot in Sacramento.
Do we have any idea, have we gotten any feedback at all from DWR regarding our GSP?
No, I'm not aware of any.
None that I'm aware of, Stan. This is Jim.
When they have indicated they have up to 2 years to review it. But
Oh, I understand that.
But they have indicated that higher priority basins will be expedited to the level they can. But we've got no feedback on where they're at with reviewing it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Renee, we're going to put you on last now. No. Okay, we'll go with number 4, well 35 update. Those are good pictures, whoever took them. I've been enjoying looking at them.
Look, that's Jason working.
Where's Jason at?
David, stand.
From
Oh,
the staff.
got it. Got it. Woo, thank you. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure you were going to have the pictures here. That is the starting of pouring the roof at well 35, and I think the next one shows it just about done. So that part is done, and then they've been working on the movable part of the building. Yeah, the framing and the coating and the painting and stuff, and now they've also started putting the siding up on that. And so that's kind of some pictures of what things look like. Is that the last one? Oh, there you go. Yeah. So they're also working on some internal items, electrical, piping, and they've also started this week on the discharge piping that goes from the building to Bowman Road. And we expect we're hoping to schedule the tie-in on Bowman Road sometime in September, but that's going to be very dependent on the weather and water usage. We're hoping if we do have to do it in September that we could do it on a Monday when the water restrictions are that nobody should be watering, so we should have less water use that day, because that takes that entire pipeline from the southwest well field out of service probably for a day. So we really want to do it later, October, November-ish, but it may not be possible just to keep them on, keep that project on schedule, which should be done by the end of November.
Okay.
Any questions about that one?
Number 5.
All right. Post-earthquake repairs. Right now, we're waiting on. We should be getting the reimbursement for well 10. I would say probably by the end of the month. There was a delay due to the change in the fiscal year. I guess the state accounting department wouldn't let them submit it for payment until the end of July. So it was submitted at the end of July, and of course it takes about a month or so to get those checks. I checked on that. And so we have repairs going on right now over at the gateway tank at the booster site. New pipeline has been installed and is online, so we can actually run that booster station now. So they're finishing up the electrical up there and the grading. They've got some fencing to do. So by the end of next week, we expect that part of the kind of phase 1 of that project to be done. And then we are looking at 50% plans for the new booster station itself that will go on that site. So that'll be the next phase, is doing the new booster station. The one other last project is up at the C-Zone tank site, the booster building that needs the seismic upgrades. Oh yeah, those are some pictures from Gateway. I think that's from the grading. Did you show the pipeline ones? Did I miss it? Oh, yeah, there. Some of the discharge piping. Yeah, I think that was it. The C-Zone, what we're calling the C-Zone booster building. Cornerstone Engineering is working on that for us, and actually right now they are waiting for us to review some items, and we're just short-staffed, and it's been difficult, but we're trying to reprioritize and get that done so we can get that project out to bid. Any questions on anything? No? All right.
Anybody? None?
Ready?
Okay, let's go ahead with Ty. Thanks, Renee.
All right, for the financial update through July 2020, so 1 month worth, we have actual revenue of $1.2 million versus a budget of $526,000. This number will change as we do the accrual for revenue received in July for water that was purchased in June. So I anticipate that'll go down about 500,000 or 600,000 when we get that accrual done. Expenditures, we have 728,000 versus a budget of 1 million, so 344,000 below budget. Our net is a positive 482,000, which is $1 million better than budget. As mentioned, about 500,000 or 600,000 of that will go back to the previous fiscal year. But we're doing well. Capital expenditures to date, 171,000, and of that, 16,000 is COP funded, and we have debt service principal of 90,000.
The only question I have goes to unpaid accounts. Are those in your figures for your monthly, expenditures or income? Is it shown in there as a write-off already, or you don't attack that until it's finally a write-off? Or
right, until it's a write-off. And
yeah.
Right now, we're postponing any write-offs until we see when the governor releases us to start doing something to collect that.
And I think it's important to know that obviously it's a real concern. When typically, I think in a typical year we have around 70 or 80, and then all of a sudden we're at 200, and then we're all of a sudden 700. That's $250,000 potentially. And I don't know where that heads. I know you're exploring about what our options are right now, even though we can't, during the governor's requirement, turn off any water. But all of a sudden, when it gets to that number, I'm not sure what to believe. I don't know if it's truly people who aren't working and can't pay their bill, or people are just taking advantage of the fact that, hey, they can't turn my water off. And that scares me a little bit. And like you said, if anything goes to collections, we normally realize only about 30 to 35%.
Exactly.
How successful are our collections? I know how that can go.
Not too good right now.
Not too great. Usually what happens is someone that is sent to collections and they haven't paid, they come in and try to start water somewhere else, and we require them to pay it before they could start the service. So that's how
You're not talking about me, are you?
Yeah. No. It's just something we all need to be aware of, that it's going on, and I know that the staff is, but because when it took that jump from 200 to 700, that just I go, oh my gosh. And you want to believe that those are people that I'm having difficulty now because I'm not working, but then also in light of the type of unemployment that was available, that bothers me. It all works together. Why is it happening?
The other option we've talked about is putting it on the tax rolls, which you can do, but there's a timing issue. I think you have to get it in by August, so we've missed the opportunity this year. So if we were to do that, it's probably a 1.5-year process to get that on the tax rolls.
We'd get it on next August with payments coming in December and April.
But still, the money would come in. What you're saying, though, is when you do that, you're pretty much are billing for entirely what they owe you.
Exactly.
As opposed to only getting 35% through collections.
Correct.
That's an option you need to continue to look at. And even though it may be down the road, like if you didn't get it into next August, then it's going to be the following year, but it's still money that is coming back to the district.
Can we get this added to one of the appropriate committee's agenda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's no sense in postponing it. If we're going to talk about it, we need to look at it and act on it if it's appropriate. So I'd say get it on the agenda, please.
I agree.
Well, and we also need to be concerned about what the 24-cent per cost of unit of water is going to do, and make sure that 700 doesn't go up to 750 or 8. And then if we go up another $1.85, what's going to happen for that 700? Does it go up to 1,000? It would be. I know it's hard to project. Be nice if we had a feel for it. I don't know how the staff could possibly do that, but they've got ways that I don't know of. So if we could try to look at what is that impact going to be.
I think the other thing we need to be considering too is obviously we're not unique in this respect, and we're probably better than many other districts because our workforce is largely on the base and the hospital and schools, and they're continuing to work. But I think ultimately there may be an opportunity to engage with Aqua and Aqua do something with the governor. I have to believe this is probably low on his priority list to rescind this executive order with everything he's got going on. So there's no telling when this is going to end. But I think at some point in time, getting Aqua engaged and saying, this is having a significant impact on revenues of water districts. And I think I sent an article to the board and I put it on Facebook that came out a couple weeks ago. It talked about the impact nationwide on water agencies. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it somewhere around, I think it was $4.5 billion in lost revenue as a result of many of the states doing the same thing California did and prohibiting districts from shutting off water to customers. So the important thing to recognize again is that the bill isn't, you're continuing to accrue the fees, the late fees, and the cost of the water that's not being forgiven. So the longer this goes on, the bigger the bill is going to be. It has to be paid. So again, we offer our customers an opportunity to sign an agreement, and as long as they continue to make some sort of payment, we'll work with them. But to just totally ignore it.
Well, it would be nice if the state would come in and offer a grant to the various water districts to pay. I mean, because the people are hurting, at least some. I'm sure there's the majority of those people are hurting, and just calling an end to that turning off the water thing isn't going to help the people. So we need to be cognizant of what we're doing to the people in addition to what we're doing to our budget.
The challenge is going to be, of course, you're aware of the $54 billion projected deficit, and so I'm sure the state...
Yeah, don't question that at all. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So one last question on this. Has any of those 700 come in and say, I can't afford to pay, but has anybody contacted you at all? No. It's just not paying.
And we've reached out to them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the base employees, by and large, are still employed, which is a blessing. But there are a lot of people, there are a lot of people in the town who are in the service industry who are not employed by the U.S. government, and they're not doing very well. I'm sure there may be one or two people who are deciding this is a great opportunity for me not to pay, but I think that we'd find, by and large, the majority of people who aren't able to pay aren't able to pay.
It's my understanding initially, didn't a couple people come in and make a payment arrangement, but they never followed through?
They never followed through, yeah.
They did sign an agreement, but they never
we do have some that have payment agreements, and those aren't included in the numbers. But.
Okay. I'm sure there's some people who cannot afford it right now. Okay, let's go with the solar production there, Ty.
All right, so July 1st through July 1st of 2020, so 19 to 20. Guaranteed savings of $544,000. We are actually coming in under that at $520,000. We had a problem at well 30 solar site. But Optera has been, it's Optera, right? NG, or whatever they're called now, has been out to work on it. So hopefully they got that resolved. That resulted in about, looks like $13,000 to $15,000 worth of loss there. But if we stay under the guaranteed savings at the end of the contract, we'll be made whole on that.
How long does the under, what would it be? If we're making less than what we're supposed to, how long does that go on before they make up a difference?
It's the length of the contract that we have with them.
The full length of the contract?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Long dang time.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have a question for Ty? I think that answered it. Do we? How much do we need to talk about on conservation?
I can give you the reports real quick.
Okay.
So for calendar year 2020, we've had 29 water waste reports received, 29 contacts made, 4 formal warnings issued, and 2 penalties issued. And it looks like total collected $2,300 of $2,500.
Okay. See you, Ty.
For SCADA, we had the factory acceptance test on site on Monday and then over Zoom on Tuesday. We went over all the screens, the HMI, the OIT, and the computer screens. We gave some corrections to ATSI, which they should have fixed by the end of this week. And next week we have a VPN, virtual private network, set up so that the operators can start using the system virtually. After that, we will start scheduling installation on the sites. As far as arsenic goes, for the month of July, Plant 1 produced 11,116,000 gallons. Plant 2, 12,360,000 gallons. And we expect delivery of the other 2 stainless pumps either tomorrow or beginning next week.
Can you compare that to the previous 5 years?
Yes, with percentages carried out to the 100th.
You know Don can do that. Okay, Jason, thank you. Operations now?
For the month of July, 35 repairs, 27 replacements, 28 valves returned. The NODES did not run in July. We had several people off for vacations or paternity leave. And let's see. But again, cumulatively, we're over 6 million gallons saved with the NODES truck.
Perfect. So the 28 valves that we turned, is that due to people on vacation and stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were down almost a whole crew.
Okay. Explains it. Okay. Anybody have a question for Jason? Nada? Thank you, Jason. Okay, we're going to go to board comments and future agenda items. We'll start off with Stan.
I was told by some people who watched or tried to watch our meeting.
Microphone, Stan.
I was told by some people who tried to watch our meeting last Monday that they couldn't hear anything I said regarding the replenishment fee. I'm not going to go through all of that again. However, I think it's fair to say that the replenishment fee is the most important thing on the horizon right now. I am concerned that the fee is probably going to be a long-term disaster for the water district, as well as being a long-term disaster for the residents of the city. I'm not sure why the city council doesn't seem more concerned than they are right now. I would like to encourage the members of this board to contact the members of the city council to try to understand why we're not seeing any discussion among the city council. And I guess I'd like to see us track what's going on with the GA a little closer, make sure that something doesn't come up and then we react, as opposed to know what's going on and act before we get to the point that we are now on the replenishment fee. But that's it. Thank you.
Okay. David?
I want to thank Director Kaczynski for his service on the GA board. I think he's done an excellent job, he and Dawn, keeping us apprised of what's going on with the GA. Additional comment about the GA, I hear one of the arguments for establishing the replenishment fee is to avoid the liability that would come from people's wells going dry. If that's the case, then a smaller fee could be established, which could be spread out amongst all of the pumpers in the valley to cover repairing or replacing people's wells that have gone dry because of overpumping in their area. I don't think that a fee of the magnitude which is being proposed right now is absolutely necessary to address the chief issue that the GA is worried about. Now, that being said, we're going to have to find supplemental water. I agree with Director Kaczynski on this completely, as I think the rest of the board does. And we have to look at ways to get that water into the valley at the most reasonable cost possible. It may be expensive, but buying into the state water market this time might not be the best solution. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Don?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Ron?
First of all, I want to thank the staff. First of all, getting this meeting set up like they did and trying to do what you did at the last meeting. Please ignore nasty comments on Facebook or what you hear that it's all wrong and you're doing it wrong so people can't hear us and can't participate. And we want to get behind closed doors because I know how hard you guys work to make sure that we can accommodate the public. So don't take any of that personally, and I truly appreciate it. And people need to understand that we're working at it as best we can, and we will continue to. And again, I want to thank the city and Gary. Hey, Gary, thanks again You know, don't teach Jason everything you know, just enough, okay? Because the hopes is that we can continue to use this so we can solve our own problem. And I won't talk any more about the GA or the replenishment fees. I think we've covered that a lot. I think it's understood where we are with that and what we would like to accomplish. And it's still the goal of this district to keep the fees to our ratepayers as low as we can within the requirements that we're going to have to meet. So we'll always work to that end. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate what I said earlier. I've been very proud to be on the water board. Our staff, everybody that we're involved with, attorneys, consultants, general manager, engineers, you name it, everybody that works with us is top notch. I want to get all of those people back on underneath our roof so they're not torn between what the GA is trying to do and what we want our staff to do. It's not fair to us to put them in the middle of this, and there's got to be some hardship suffered because of the two sides that they're listening to right now. With all the people that we have involved with us and all the professionals we have involved with us, there's nothing that we probably can't overcome and do, and I feel that we could come a very long ways as far as bringing other water or other sources to the valley, and that's what I would like to see happen. But I do want to come up with an end date for our staff to be back with us in our office. Other than that, I'd like for people to work on that. So that's all I have to say, and thank you very much, and Gary and the city for allowing us here. It's a very nice facility. So if that's it, anybody, one last time? Nada? Let's go ahead and call adjourn. Thank you all for coming.